in my art corner, which, as you can see, is filled with all my canvases that are painted, but because I live in such a small house, they absolutely cannot go on the walls because every wall in my house is covered with my paintings, gallery style, just tacked up there with tacks, because I like color and living in a white box was literally killing me. So, and I convinced my mom to give me like some childhood sketchbooks, and I wanted to be surprised, so I decided to come on and show you guys some of my childhood art. And this is just an artsy vlog because art is a huge part of my life, and it evolved so much over the years, because what used to be a really good hobby to like imagination work and, you know, just to really activate imagination as a child and as a teenager, arts played a huge role in all those segments of my life. And then as spirituality kind of took over my life again from ground zero, that evolved too. I started doing a lot more goddess work and nature work. Are these people? These are all faces. Like, that's so crazy. I used to love, my mom was a magazine subscriber, like most moms, right? And I used to take some ads of theirs and like draw the faces from them. Man, I wish I had dates on these, like really. Actually, I think that this could have been my youngest's age. So 10, I was probably around 10 when I drew this. But mermaids and people that, like celebrities from, like, y'all probably all recognize this. I could never draw faces when I was young. But this is like a camel lady, a camel cigarette lady. They always look like flappers from the 20s, and I was just obsessed with them. And just different ads for magazines and stuff. I had a thing for, someone asked me one time why it was all women. And I said, well, to be honest, if I'm being honest, something about the made up eye. Like, you know, with those close-ups in magazines for like CoverGirl and Maybelline, and, you know, be like a beautifully painted eye. I just was obsessed with that. I was like, God, they're perfectly painted mouths, right? No hair anywhere. Like, it's just, you know, I used to think that these women were so beautiful, and like growing up that way. And now looking back in hindsight, I can appreciate that I liked these pictures in magazines and stuff, but then I can also appreciate my newfound love for my own body, and how, no, there weren't women in advertisements that looked like me, that were plus size. I also had a thing for this, like, take a picture of someone and cut them somewhere, like sideways or down the middle. And I think what that was ultimately doing was, maybe my mind was telling me about duality or neutrality. And I think looking back on some of these drawings is really, really pulling me some things. Like look, like here's another camel lady. Like, why was my mom letting me draw these camel cigarette advertisements when I was like 10 to 12 years old, you know? I was always obsessed with necks. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but she's looking like this, like showing off that big ass earring, but she's baring her neck. And I love something about the curve of necks. Ugh. Fairies. And oh, I had a thing about fabric too. I remember being obsessed with not being able to draw fabric well, like chiffon blowing in the breeze. I could never draw that really well. Like, it just seemed to be something that was great in a photograph, but I couldn't really. I remember drawing little sketches and everything. And then I used to have these big sketchbooks. Like, obsessed with these things. Oh my God. Because it just seemed like so many possibilities. Having these huge sheets of paper just seemed to fill me with all kinds of like, oh, I can do so much with this. And then I would get it and I would be so intimidated once I would get the pencil in hand to just be one of those, like, I did like to do it for like abstracts. Just put some shapes down, put some soft pastels down and go to town. Like, she gave me these just huge ones that when I would think back, I would love the idea of big paper, but I was so intimidated I could not ever do anything. Oh my God. Okay, so when I was young, I used to do this this art style thing called no face people, where I would draw things. They would have draw people, but they would have no faces. And I loved the concept of that. I just couldn't execute it very well. But when I met my partner for the very first time, I was 13. And we went all kinds of places together when we first met because we were just so enraptured with each other. We just like never got bored. And the friendship has lasted our whole lives thus far. We're still together. So I remember when I first met him. It's so crazy. That's so weird. Anyway, oh my God. And my mom probably has no idea that was... I remember I used to be obsessed with, I made huge, like what we call vision boards now, but you cut out magazine pictures and you just paste them to this poster board. I had about 17 of those posted all over my room. I might insert a picture on one of these about what my room as a teenager looked like. I had shit hanging out from the walls. I was still am, a maximalist that it's crazy to think about now. I used to cut and paste all the time. I think this is either, I don't know what this is supposed to be. Maybe like this. Oh, she's jumping off a tree. This is like so crazy to think about all this stuff. Oh my God. Oh. Okay. To bring a lover back. You guys. Same age, okay? I wrote my first spell. Holy shit. Oh my God, okay, I can't even look at that. I'm gonna start crying. Like, I have to cover up my name because I wrote my whole first and last name here. Or my maiden. I guess my maiden name. You know, I hate that term. I'm not showing everything because some of it's just like... I was so obsessed with the stars too. Like, look at my handwriting. This was so young. And here's Aquarius because I'm an Aquarius, so of course I was selfish with people. So, I mean, you guys. I still have paper in the back of this. I'm going to be doing so much with this. Seriously? I had to be younger than 12, maybe. So crazy. You guys. Looking at childhood art is bringing back some memories. Okay. I had a fascination with inflictions. Okay, I don't want to sound morbid with that, but I was a pretty morbid. I mean, my favorite word for all time is, or that has been my favorite word for all time, is the word macabre. Let's just say that sums up my personal aesthetic. Okay. It's like looking back on this now. Jeez, I like doing stuff like this because it shows me how far I've come. And it shows me how far I really haven't. How far a lot of what I like to draw hasn't changed much. And that's, I feel like, a beautiful thing. And it's a beautiful way for me to get back in touch with my inner child sometimes. Pull out some of these and redraw them. Re-sit with the girl that was me at that age and like have a conversation while I'm redrawing whatever she was trying to draw. And I would show you some of my canvases, but I don't know if we can get this into the frame. Like, it's my good waterfall. And obsessed with like forestry, so like I drew this when I was a teenager. Most of these are some that I like my art wall. I've had these since I was started painting. So Misty, I have a thing for what do you want to call it? Dark forests. And I love that quote that witches aren't afraid of the darkness because they know they're the scariest thing out there. And by anything that's holy, I would be. But look, I even put glitter. You see the glitter. Nope, you can't really see the glitter. But whatever. Love woods. And this is actually not finished. This is my absolute newest endeavor, which sometimes I take an artist, like a famous artist, like in this case Picasso, and I study up on their life. I watch some documentaries, I read some books, really study some of their eras, their painting eras. Like for him, he had a blue period and a whatever, you know, so I really studied some of his things and kind of meld the two as like an artist study. I'm very much an academic when it comes to all kinds of shit. So I took all of his things and I melded them and I said, how would I relate that to my own life? And this is actually an old commission that I did that ended up looking too much like me for them to like it. So, and I love it. I worked so hard on it, but it does look like me. So, you didn't like it. Oh, whatever. Back to macabreness. This was actually a picture I found on Pinterest, and I made it into myself, like with my skull ring and my tattoos. And she's a lot skinnier than me, but we're not gonna go there. And that's her shadow. And I love it. Oh my god. So, I mean, we could sit here all day and look at all my paintings, but we're not going to. So I decided to come out here to my back garden in my bamboo. What is happening? Got some sacred animals back there? Oh, it's my dog. What are you doing? Huh? This is Missy. Say hi. Say hi. Well, I didn't really mean in my lap, but whatever. Okay. I've been reading some poetry. I've been reading some Baudelaire, and I read a lot to get me inspired and to get me thinking about things. And others' perspective it can be so uplifting in these trying times. And I know, isn't it? That's a beautiful sound when the bamboo starts moving. And it's called A Pagan's Prayer. Oh, hey. Get away from the camera. Go. It's called A Pagan's Prayer. No less than the worst of your fires will do to warm my sluggish heart to life again. Pleasure, sensual pleasure, scourge of souls. Yeah. Diva, supplicum exaldi, grant me pain. Goddess brightening the air we breathe, flame in the darkness following our feet. I hear you. Hear the petition of a fallen soul who consecrates to you a brazen song. I am feeling some things. Pleasure, sensual pleasure, be my queen forever. Wear the siren mask of flesh and velvet that beguiles the skull beneath. Or fill my goblet with your heavy sleep that shimmers in the mysteries of wine. Pleasure, shifting phantom, shameless muse. Yes, sir! Isn't that the most inspiring pagan thing you've ever read? Now, Baudelaire was a poet from a long time ago, and there can be so much anguish with him, and, you know, so much rebellion, I believe, like, in an artist's life, there just seems to be so much madness, I'll call it, for lack of a better word. I feel like a lot of my poetry and paintings and drawings and journal prompts, I mean, all of that derives from some sort of madness that seems to be like just waiting down there in the abyss of the shadow, or the abyss of the soul, or even some dark thoughts that I might have that are on the surface of my soul that I'm not afraid of. And I think that that's what makes me feel like a powerful ass witch, is that when these dark thoughts come on, and I just want to journal about them, and I write about them, and I doodle about them, that's me coming into my power. I feel I'm coming into my power, and it just feels so seasonal and so earthy, and I'm in tune with it. And I believe that that's what it means to be in touch with yourself, and that poem really inspired me. So I'll probably sit here in I call this space my rabbit hole, because Missy has effectively dug out the bamboo in like a tiny little, like, looks like a tunnel, and I like to like climb through there and see what she's gotten a hold of, if anything. She's pretty sedate, you know, she doesn't kill birds or anything. But I like to climb into the rabbit hole with her sometimes and chase the butterflies. So I'm just gonna vlog style this. I have a small living room, but I've shoved some of my paintings on the wall, and I've gotten a few requests so far about taking you along for the ride. I have a thing about trees, so I love painting them. I actually had a really, really good reference photo for this, and I love old paintings. Let's see if we can get a close-up of her. So beautiful. Something about, like, I've always wanted like a kind of like a gothic library with all of these types of old pictures in them. This is actually a picture I took of my partner playing the guitar, and the light, because the light of that sunset was so high, like high resolution sunset, it darkened their hands. And anyway, so that was from that. This was my very first Bob Ross picture that I painted. One of my kids did that. And because my partner is a musician, I love painting guitars for them. That was my very first oil painting, which is two sunflowers kissing. And this is supposed to be a candle, even though I've been told it looks obscene. And that's I did this sun when I was about 15, and I was playing around with clouds. That one's this painting is actually not mine. It's just a picture on canvas of the Venice in Venice. And then this I painted when I was a teenager, because I mean, it's nothing like existentialism, yeah, right? This was an oil painting I did of Heathcliff and Catherine, and it was just supposed to be made to be like abstract. And then this is, I love the effect of a red sky, and I thought that this was supposed to be a volcano, and the ash was what made the clouds look like this, but then the contrast of the green against the red sky, just, I don't know, I never even finished it. And then this is my big mama chair, and I sit over here and read with the kids. And so this, which was in the kitchen, I painted that years and years ago, but I'm going to take that down and put another painting here, because I want this whole corner to be paintings I've done referencing books. And this is an oil painting of the two towers from Lord of the Rings that I did. And this is actually a conglomeration from the Hobbit books. So there's Hobbiton and the Spider Forest and Rivendell and Gollum's Cave, the Misty Mountains, and then way off is Smaug, right there in the mountain. And then I'm gonna move them. This is it's like an aspect of the triple goddess that I painted for reference, and I mean I ended up loving how it looked, but I have no more wall space, people. This is actually my Harry Potter bookshelf, and I've collected all kinds of bits and bobs, me and my children, from the from the franchise. My skull lights that I light up, and then here's the Horcrux. I've actually got all 7. They were up here, but I think my kids have done. And then that is a conglomeration of Hogwarts that I painted with the Centaur and the Spider, which Hagrid's, that's my favorite. And Hogwarts off in the distance. These are some drawings that I've done when I was a little kid that my mom had given me. And again, no wall space, so. Okay, much love to everybody. I hope you like this vlog.